What's going on, everybody? Weston Hodkiewicz from the Green Bay Press-Gazette, joined alongside Pete Dougherty here at the second day availability here for the media in Indianapolis at the NFL Scouting Combine. Pete, today we talked to both Mike McCarthy and Ted Thompson were both available. And one of the more interesting things that came out of McCarthy's conversation was the fact that him and the defensive coordinators and defensive assistants are going to be going down to Texas A&M here to try to find some answers here for this read option and get some answers for this defense as far as what they can do to defend it. Obviously, there's the things they always take into account during the offseason, but him actually going public with that was a little bit of a surprise.
It's interesting. It tells you what a profound effect that game against the 49ers had. I mean, he said 579, that's a number that's going to stick with our defense all offseason, and that 579 is the total yards they gave up. It was an NFL playoff record. It just tells you the teams are getting serious about stopping the zone read, and I think that's one of the reasons why some executives think that the zone read will not be a staple of a lot of offenses a couple of years from now, because defenses will put a lot more effort and time into figuring out ways to stop it.
One other thing that Mike McCarthy was pretty vocal about today was the fact that Randall Cobb, if he has it his way, will not be playing special teams next year. You look at what Cobb has done as a kick returner and a punt returner for this franchise so far, they've basically jumped 12, 14, 15 spots in the Dallas Morning News' rankings for special teams over the last 2 years. But if you take him away there, obviously they just want to use him and his talents for offense. What do you think about that proposition? Is that something that's just inevitable right now based on where they are with Greg Jennings?
Yeah, and I think they even would have liked to. Well, by the end of last year, they actually did took him off in the playoffs. He was doing a lot less of it. You know, when the guys can only take so many hits, and he's a smaller player. They don't want to ruin the prime of his career or shorten his career by having him trying to do too much at this stage. It's something they've been talking about since probably the middle of the season on. You could tell. And Jeremy Ross, I mean, the guy's got some ability as a return guy. I know he had the fumble against San Francisco, but he's a big, fast guy, more physical than a lot of return guys. I think he's got a decent chance to be their return guy next year.
Wrapping things up here, Pete, a couple other notes that came out of this whole news conference with McCarthy is that Jerrell Worthy probably going to be pressed trying to make it back for training camp and even in training camp with that torn ACL. Also, he seemed rather optimistic, somewhat, with Derek Sherrod and also Andrew Corliss, who both weren't able to make it back last year. Just looking at Sherrod really quickly, with him, he's going to they're hoping to maybe have him back for OTAs, but what do you think about his situation, and is he a guy they can really count on as they are trying to prepare for this draft and see if they can find some more answers at tackle?
I don't see how they could count on him. They can, certainly hope he can help him out, but that's a severe injury, and some guys come back from it, some don't. Mike Flanagan did. But this has been really slow and really long, so I think they have to look at his return if he does help him as gravy, and they have to certainly have contingency plans for making sure they're set at both left and right tackle.
Very good. Well, tomorrow we'll be back at it here. Availability for the Packers is done, but we will still have a bunch of players coming through. Be sure to check into PackersNews.com with all of our updates, blogs, videos. We'll have it all on there. But for Pete Dougherty, I'm Weston Hodkiewicz. We'll see you tomorrow.